What is up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored, and Greg needs to stop knocking his desk at the start of the show, because otherwise I'm going to pull out a hit on him. Welcome to the show, guys. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom and truly become the rock star agent in your market. And we're going to talk. We've got a great guest with us today. We've got Gene Volpe here with us too. He's got a tip for us, but we're talking about systems and significance. And so we've got a lot of stuff that we can get into. We've got a great guest today. He's got everything from being with EXP, which I want to talk about, to being in Star Power with Howard Britton, which I want to talk about, and how he generates leads and systems and all that stuff. So before we get into all that, which we will get into, guys, welcome the Junior Grandmaster himself, fresh off of his very nice event last night. Greg, how are you?
Matt, what's up, man? Darryl and I have, unbeknownst to each other, been a part of the same organizations, Cyberstars, Howard Britton, Star Power. So we know we got a rock solid guest here with us today. We got the Volpinator here that's going to rain down knowledge. But guys, I'm not kidding around, dude. So last night we did, here's my name badge, right? Greg McDaniel with the Rockstar Connect. Did my first event, kind of wondering how it was going to go, right? We had Nick, he flew in from North Carolina to be at the event with me. Dude, we had 65 people through our very first event. I picked up this gal who loves to buy really crappy homes, and I got a lot of crappy homes to sell her. My buddy, I've grown up with since high school, he came, did not expect to see him, but he came there. And he hit me up at the very end when he was leaving and said, "Hey, Greg, I want to buy the house that I'm renting. Can you help me do that?" Yes, I can, Carlos. Yes, I can. So, at the first event, everyone who was leaving was super happy. They said they were one of the best networking events they've been to in a long period of time. So if you guys are thinking about doing something with networking, PM me, okay? If you guys are listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher or anything else on the past recording, private message me on Facebook, go Greg McDaniel, just message Rockstar Connect. I will connect you over with Nick and with Steven over there and get you guys connected. It is awesome what they do. Dude, if I can get rid of cold calling and just do networking, I'm in.
Wait, what? Greg is willing to give up cold calling?
Cocktails and hanging out with people? Yeah, I'm good with that. And snacks? I'm in.
And snacks. All right. I was going to say, well, if there's food, we know there's realtors that are drawn like a magnet. So, all right. Well, let's. I'll bring Gene in a second, but Darryl, just wanted to officially welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for
inviting. We're excited to have you. So, give everybody kind of a brief, like a 60-second bio, kind of who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Okay, I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm just a realtor. What we all kind of expect from that term. But I do all kinds of things. I'm an entrepreneur in many ways. I used to have some fitness centers, just closed both of those, but I'd run them for about 15 years. Nice. I have 7. One of the things that really makes me unique, I think, with personal story is I have 7 adopted children, eight kids total. We've been foster parents for years. And that's kind of my own personal passion, things that involve kids and my personal story. So historically, I've been in the business almost, 30 years now. This is 30 years. And I do a weekly radio show on a large talk radio station here in Tulsa. Used to do television. So I just do stuff to keep busy. And that's my story.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have how many kids? 8, 7 or 8?
I have 8. Yes.
8.
6 of them are minors, so they're with me at any given time. And
good Lord,
wow. Yeah. So.
Man, wow. So when you talk about keeping busy, man, you are not joking.
No.
That's an impressive number.
You want to know why I'm in the car? You think I'm on an inspection, but I was just getting out of the house.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not true. I really am on an inspection, but there are times that I sit in the car to take care of some business if it's crazy.
Oh, that's funny.
That's really cool, man. There's a lot of people out there. I've known a couple of friends of mine that went through the foster system, and dude, they get passed around, quite a bit, and there's something that breaks inside of them at some point. But when they come across, I'm sure you've seen this. Some kids are just. They've been mistreated, but you obviously have a heart for this. You've been, helping them out. Obviously, you're not a dirtbag. You're a very upstanding, good guy, and so there's probably a breath of fresh air for those kids to be around you and your wife, right?
Well, it is, but there's an impact. I tell this. It's an awful story, but Hitler's army was developed by introducing these young children the first 5 years when their brains were forming to violence and really disconnecting them from people. And so what we have to think about here, and this is the heavy side of it, is even when think of foster care just nationwide, these are children who are being passed around. They lose their bonding ability, and they have to relearn that. And so the foster care program, the adoption system, all of these things that kind of take place behind the scenes that most people don't know about are really critical to the future of our kids. And so what you have to say is very true. And that first 5 years is when they are often missing the things that they need the most.
Well, I'm glad you're stepping up, my friend. You're doing incredible work over there, and I'm sure these kids are going to be, the ripple effect you're going to have on their lives and the lives that they're going to have and come in contact with is going to be exponential. You know, I know you do the same thing in real estate, so keep it up, rock star, love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a great just something to piggyback on that. And one of the reasons why I, like a lot of us are drawn to real estate is just the freedom of flexible schedules and the ability to make a higher proportion of money to the work that we put in versus going and working for somebody else. And what's cool about it is that you can then take that extra income and time and do whatever you want with it. And that's everything from, if you want to buy a Lamborghini, awesome, that's great. If you want to go out and minister, then you can do that too. I mean, that's and I hope people realize that and get into real estate and realize that they do have a huge opportunity, that there is an opportunity to build a lifestyle that allows you to do whatever you want with it, including ministry, which is really awesome.
Sure.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's talk to Gene for a second. Bring him in officially, our semi-regular. But what was that? The bald ninja, the bald marketing ninja.
The evil ninja. The evil bald ninja.
Okay.
Social media.
Okay.
Listen. I think it's crap that you got me following this guy Darryl. You know, like this dude's an ace in the community, and here I am. I'm like, oh, let me get my buffalo chicken quesadilla down my throat. You know. I'm so busy. I had to get lunch for my 2 kids. He comes on. He's like, I got 8 kids. Damn.
Yeah, I know. He puts us all the same. I have a 2.5-year-old I can't keep up with.
Hey, look, I got 2 cats, players. Top that.
You do have us all beat.
They sleep all on their own. They even shit in their own box. It's difficult work.
Well,
it's difficult work.
When they don't do it on the bed.
Oh God. So listen. So I just came up with a tag phrase for McDaniel. I think this should be you said it. No, you said it. Yes, I can, Carlos. Yes, I can. I think that should be your new real estate moniker. You just said that. We can rewind the tape and go back. Yes, I can, Carlos.
I will write this down. This is my new tagline. Yes, I can, Carlos. Yes,
I can. I expect that to see on Greg's byline at the bottom of the show on the next podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen. I control the social media, so we can put it everywhere.
That's true. I love it.
Yes, you do.
All right, Gene. So what do you got for us today?
Oh man, listen. We did in pre-show, so I'm going to touch on something real quick because I know this one will garner your approval. The next one I'm going to talk about is probably going to spur a debate, right? Because we talked a little bit about it. So I'm going to give you something nice real quick, and then I'm going to poke the bear. So the first one is Snapchat advertising, right? So just go to business.snapchat.com. In case you don't know this, you've probably seen it in your Snapchat if you're using Snapchat at all. And if you're not, you probably should look into it. Maybe that's not your target market. Maybe you're not demographic, but just take a look at it. At least follow your kids on it, right? But you can actually spend money and advertise through the Snapchat app. And if you go to business.snapchat.com, they'll walk you through setting up your business manager, and then you can play around with it and see what it yields. So that's the one I don't think I'm going to get any feedback on or kickback. The next one is something called, ready, watch Greg's face, everybody, Sly Dial. He's convulsing. Let me be clear. I have a list of clients that I can Sly Dial to. Now, notice I said clients because I know Greg's going to jump all over me. But if I have an announcement that I want to make, whether it be we're creating a new system or we have a new news thing that we're doing, something along those lines for my clients, I can just shoot them in a mass voicemail. So it works pretty well for my business. What I understand is you're not supposed to do that for cold calls. So I know I'll jump in on that because I know people will probably look into it and use it, but tell me what they can't use it for.
Okay, look, guys, I'm literally going to either hand you the keys to the kingdom or the keys to your demise. It's your choice on which one is going to be at this point, but knowledge is always king. It trumps everything else. There's a thing called Sly Dial that Gene just talked about. It does only work with cell phone numbers. It does not work with landline numbers. This is how it works. You can dial the number, dial another number, and it drops right into their voice box, and it shows a missed call on their cell phone. Now, they have a thing called slide dial broadcast. And I'm going to emphasize this in huge capital letters. Do not use this to prospect ever. Explanation point. If you do and you get caught, you will be fined $16,000 per number dialed through the system. Add that up really quickly. Just do 2 of them. It's a big number, isn't it? Try a 3rd or a 4th or even a 5th. All of a sudden, it really sucks. But it is, if you have a verified value, a verified number that you can communicate with, then it's okay. It's okay because if you have permission to use a cell phone, the cell phone number of your client or a prospect, but they've given you permission, you can use the program. And what you do is you upload the numbers into the slide dial broadcast, press boop, boop, one button, and bam, it is out. They will call you back because they'll see the missed call. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing. If you're an agoraphobe like Johnson, you don't actually want to communicate with a humanoid, beautiful program. When I tried to call you, did you see the missed call? Oh, man, that's weird. Didn't pick up. Oh, well, bummer. But,
oh, my God.
Well, listen, if utilized properly, it can be a good tool. If you use it with malice, you get yourself in trouble. I mean, that's what it is.
Darryl, have you ever used? Can you see some applications for you with slide dial?
No, totally. Actually, I used to use it, and I used it with all my clients so I could get them a message. And I've actually several of them knew I used it, and they actually liked it because they didn't have to go through those awkward moments of, well, I'm busy. Can I say goodbye now? I just wanted the information. And so it cuts a lot out of the conversation. But I had trouble with the app. It stopped working, and I never could get it to work. So after a particular upgrade, so I quit.
Really?
But it's still there. I have a few clients I don't really like to talk to, and I'd like to start using it again.
You care to mention their names on the broadcast? You should mention their names.
I think they already know who they are.
Well, that's good. Sounds like Greg's # worst client ever.
Oh, my God, dude, she was the worst client ever. She was horrible. It was the greatest day ever when I got to fire her. And now she's become a good friend. The ironic part, moving forward to some actual
Oh, my God, that's funny. All right, well, it's cool that you've used it before. So, like, Darryl, were you using it with, like, listing clients to keep them updated?
It was updating. Hey, here's what's going on. And, of course, now we've got these other tools. It was pre much of what we have now. I guess it was 4 or 5 years ago. But
I was going to say, if you had to record a specific voicemail for each individual person, it would be like now you could send them like a voice Facebook message or something like that. That way, like, hey, I just sent you an email. It's a big, long update, but here's the bullet points. It's 1, 2, 3. Like, here's basically what you need to know if you don't get a chance to look at my email. And here are the questions that I need or whatever. Here's the stuff that you need to know. I guess, Facebook messages are great for that now.
Yeah. Does anybody check their voicemail anymore?
I know I don't.
I don't check mine sometimes for a couple of days because it's all transcribed and it comes by email anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I use Google Voice.
Yeah. Mine's the iPhone does that for me too. So the only way I ever check my voicemail is just the transcription.
I know mine's. I check my voicemail so infrequently. I get told that my voicemail is full. I'm like, it is? Oh, okay. Time to go and delete everybody. Especially like my parents and everybody else. I don't know. Like, God, I love you, Greg. I love you too, Dad. Delete. But, of course, you keep that random voice message from a client that you don't know. You're like, I should probably hang on to this. But although I love you, from the people that you know, love, and trust, you're like, oh, pitter-patter of my little heart. And then they're like, yeah, bye-bye. No, but I really don't check voice message. I'll check a text. I'll check a Facebook message. I'm horrible at email. But, yeah, so if anyone's listening to me, PM me on Facebook and you'll get a response. But do not call me.
There's a lot of people that are getting to that point, too. Like email is getting to be overwhelming. We only check it for work. That's why I think the Facebook inbox, unfortunately, right now we're in a kind of a niche of time where it's become really valuable and one of the best ways to get a hold of people. But then I'm sure that'll get crowded and we'll find something else like Snapchat, like Gene said. And then people like Gene are going to advertise to us on it. Damn it.
That's right. I'm doing it right now, brother. Doing it right now.
All right, Gene. So how can people reach the evil bald ninja so that you can do cool things like Snapchat advertise for them?
Yeah, listen, this week I'm actually probably going to buy the evilbaldninja.com. But until that point, I am going to tell you genevolpe.com is the best way to do it.
Yeah, very cool. All right, connect with you, and you've got a couple of packages to help people get exposed, as your hashtag says. So, yeah, Gene, thank you so much. We're going to move on to get
Better
Darryl.
things to better things.
I didn't say better things. I want to dive in with Darryl and his story and get into that. So, people reach out to Gene. He is helping Greg with all of his social media stuff, and he's doing a phenomenal job. So, guys, seriously, reach out to him if you have any questions about how to get more exposure on social media. If you are an agent, or if you know of someone who is a service provider or contractor that needs that type of service, Gene also works with other industries. So he's not. We'd love to just keep him in real estate, but he cannot be contained. He will not be contained to just real estate.
Yo, listen, you sell my service better than I do. Darryl, good luck.
I
would say good luck with these two, but you already have 8 kids. This shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. That's true. It's a light day for Darryl.
See you guys. Have a great weekend.
Gene, I'll call you later, bud.
Oh, man.
That's good.
All right. So, Darryl, so kind of clue me in a little bit. You're with EXP, which you've heard a lot of good things about. We've talked with Hank Avink a little bit about it. And so give us an idea of just real quickly, like why you joined them.
Okay, so I had brief history. I entered the business when I was 19. Prior, I had worked with my dad and done it all that. So when I entered the business, the fax machine was a big deal, and we were carrying pagers. And so I went through this period of about 22 years with a traditional company. Had been rookie of the year all the way to a partner. Had been top producer most of the years in between, and so I watched all these cycles take place, and how the iPad was transforming things, and how the internet had transformed things, and how the pager was, whatever it was doing then. So when we started seeing more of this happening with Zillow and Trulia and access to the internet and discount brokers, and things were just changing, I looked at it and said, my traditional brokerage model has to adapt, and where is that going to be? What's going to happen? So I ended up selling out of my other company, and because EXP came along, and I was literally losing sleep at night thinking what's going to be the next thing. And when I was first introduced to EXP, I thought it was ridiculous. You had this little online thing, and you had avatars, and I just the first couple of months I just dismissed it. But I woke up in the middle of the night, like with this almost like a dream of, this is the answer to everything I've been looking for. So that's when I switched over. And so I opened it in Oklahoma. We had 340 agents nationwide at the time. Now we're well into the thousands. And so it has been a life-changing business model. Now, keep in mind, at the time I was doing this, I was looking for ways to be home with my kids more, just to be present in their lives. So that's EXP answered that, and that's why all that other stuff that really makes EXP unique wasn't important to me at the time. But as I got into the business and started using it with EXP, I realized how transformative it was. But that was my initial purpose. I just want to be around my kids. I want to keep my business going, but my 20s of how many homes can I sell and can I be the biggest and the best? That was fun. Don't knock anybody for doing that and having hundreds and millions of dollars of sales a year. But now I enjoy being a top producer that is highly family focused.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And a lot of people, they do go through that metamorphosis in life and in business. But I think that, that you had, what was that trigger? I mean, what was that trigger? Why did you wake up one night and be like, bam, this is the answer? What changed?
Well, my moniker's always been the future of real estate is now. When I was in my very early 20s, nobody listed their house with me. I would go out on an appointment. I knew more. I had studied more. I read the contracts. And some of these old farts, they never read the contracts. They didn't even know what they were having people sign. They just had gray hair. And so I would lose this business. I was like, I need something that gives me some credibility. So I started my TV show and all this other stuff. And that's when I realized the influence was really just the power of me owning my business and owning my image and reputation, and riding the waves and the cycles. And you kind of sense that if you watch it, and if you're going out to do business every day and you start to feel like, I'm not really quite as effective, you feel on, or you feel like you're losing ground. And I was having that feeling of losing ground. My company had I was a strong producer, so I'd go in and I would kind of stabilize an office, kind of like an anchor tenant in a mall would. I was the JCPenney or whatever time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been moved so many times that I had lost my footing, and I realized I was operating a cloud office, but I was supposed to have a traditional office. So all of my files and everything had become mobile. The technology was keeping up, catching up to that. The iPad was transforming things at the time, because now you could have all your documents there in front of you. So you just kind of get this. It's almost like an airplane stalling. If you've ever had flying lessons, and the biggest thing have you ever done that?
I have. I actually, back in the day, went through this brief stint of doing chewing tobacco, and I had the genius idea to pack a chew right when my brother was taking flight lessons, and I went with him. Guess what they were doing that day? Practicing stalls.
Yeah.
Worst decision ever. I'm like,
you swallowed. Yeah.
It was horrible.
Well,
but yeah.
I compare it to that because there's just this challenge, this psychological challenge of I'm flying this plane to the point that I know it can't fly anymore, and then I have to recover from that. And you start to feel the shuddering and the shaking, and you kind of feel that in the market. And if you've got your ear to the ground and you're just doing stuff like this, I mean, here we are just chatting and exchanging information, you start to sense it and feel it. And I can't say that there was one thing. It was just a series of items.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I want to come back to that. We'll get to the significance, but I want to dive into kind of those earlier phases, because there's a lot there that I think agents that are listening and watching to this right now can benefit from, because you've gone through some of the things that they're going through right now. You mentioned just being young, you're doing your homework, but you can feel that you don't have the credibility that you want. So take me back there. What was kind of your main lead generation system? And then we'll get into kind of the things that you did to build credibility.
I've always thought long term. So anything that I do, I'm not really looking for an immediate gratification out of it. I think that's all great, and we should maximize that. But I always felt like it was going to take a long time to build my business and to generate the leads and income. So I did a lot of cold calling and that kind of thing, mostly open houses though, and I kind of consider that a cold calling sort of technique, because you have no relationship with people. You're just trying to establish, maybe a 6-month, they start looking early, and so you work out that way. But I started delivering newsletters. I walked the neighborhoods. I put newsletters on the door. I don't think I would necessarily do that again today. There are other things that can be more effective. But it started with building a relationship with people, being a trusted name. The old 8 and 8 campaign of 8 weeks and 8 contacts with people, whether it be flyers or ads or whatever, to start a farm area. I just blanketed this geographic farm area, and over a period of time listed and sold more than anybody else had, even companies. So you just roll your sleeves up and do it. And most agents, and I've coached and trained a lot of agents as a managing broker. Most of them just don't have the tenacity to do that. And if you're watching this right now, if you'll just do it and not quit, you're going to win just because all the others quit. I remember the first 3 years in Oklahoma, you have to renew your license every 3 years. I wasn't successful because I was some brainchild or had some special gift. I just didn't quit. Everybody else quit after the first 3 years. So I renewed my license. That's what made me a success.
The funny thing,
very uneventful.
But hey, it was effective. That's the only thing that matters. You and I got in the business around the same time. In the past, I remember the first offer we ever got. I was so excited. I called up my dad. I'm like, Dad, we're getting an offer. It's coming through on the fax. And it was like the old fax with like slick paper, like the writing would go away after a period of time.
Don't let it sit on the dashboard, or you lost your offer.
Lose your offer. And we had the pagers, and we would use our cell phones very sparingly because it cost like $1 a minute. Oh yeah, I remember those days, man. It's come a long ways in what you can do. And the 8x8, 33 touch, all of that stuff. It's good, but I think, like you're saying, there's much more effective ways and efficient ways and cost-effective ways to hit those prospects in today's day and age. So
But it still happens. The psychology of it's still the same. If it's 8 and 8, don't spread all over the place. Target people who like, if you do ranches, people who are into horses, or people who like golf, or people at your church organization or kids' school, whatever. those people over and over and over again so that they learn to trust you.
Yep.
Yeah. Repetition, absolutely. I mean, you rent space in someone's mind after they argue between 6 and 8 times, but on the 8th time, now you have space rented in their house, like a small little apartment, with a for sale sign in it, and they just continue to remember, oh, Darryl, real estate. I mean, that's just invaluable. So that when they're at a cocktail party and someone goes, I'm thinking about buying, like, have you talked to Darryl Baskins? And they're like, no, I haven't. Well, you should. He's everywhere.
Right.
And you're like, yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Even though, go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, speaking of being everywhere, like tell us a little bit about your experience with the TV and radio.
Yeah.
Well, again, it was about, I was trying to develop credibility because I was losing business literally left and right. As a matter of fact, I would deliver all these flyers to a neighborhood, and my company, which had no market presence whatsoever to begin with, suddenly started getting all these listings. And what was happening is they were calling in and saying, hey, we understand you do a lot of business out here. Well, they get the floor desk. So I realized I needed to brand me. I needed to establish credibility. And at the time, now, if you remember the movie Wayne's World?
Oh, party on Wayne, party on Garth.
That's right. Okay, so I always say my first shows were like Wayne's World of real estate. It was semi-professionally produced. I mean, it was in the cable studio, but you had to fill out like a book of contracts and public access stuff. But what was happening at the time, very different than it was today, was that if you got it on TV, if you said something on TV, it suddenly had credibility. And it's still, video still has a lot more credibility today. But what I had to do was sit back and just evaluate, where is the bottleneck in my business? It wasn't that I wasn't delivering enough flyers. It wasn't that I wasn't putting out good information. It was that I was young, and it was difficult for people to accept the fact that I could be a credible resource for real estate. And it was all changed with that television show. So anyway, you can repeat that same thought process over and over again and just solve your own problem. And I can't preach that enough, because you have one. Anybody watching has a particular bottleneck, and you might have several of them. And it's hard for us to sometimes stand back and look objectively at ourselves and say, admit what our problems are. So getting some business coaching, really being willing to take a hard look at it, and it may take weeks or months to come to that conclusion. If you know what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm making a lot of sense, but people fail because they're not honest with themselves, I think.
Oof, man, that's true.
I was actually having a conversation this morning with Lily. She and I were sitting having some coffee after a walk, and I looked around. I'm like, I said, you know what, Lily? Look around. How many people do you see that are honestly not happy with themselves, but they continually go to this dead-end job? There's a big old medical facility across the street, and these people were overweight, they're hunched over, they were kind of shuffling along. There's no spark or hip hop in their step. They are not being honest with themselves. If they were honest with themselves, they would not fucking like that job, okay? Because that job is killing them. But they do it because they think they have to. But what if, Darryl? What if they did take that hard look and they took that jump and did that one thing that they really wanted to do in life, and whether it was for once honest with themselves? I mean, I think that we see a radical transformation.
I do agree with that. Here's where I think the honesty really comes in, is we're not honest with ourselves about the reason most of us don't do that is because we're afraid. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to admit, I'm afraid. And here I am, I'm this strong business presence, and it seems like on the surface I've got all these things going on. But strip all that away, and I've got fears and I've got insecurities, and we all have those. And being able to face that and have people in our lives that we're willing to listen to. I mean, think of how many times we've been in business relationships with a client we're giving them all the right information, but they won't listen to it. They think they know too much, and they run themselves into bankruptcy or foreclosure, or they have their house on the market for 3 years because they're too stubborn to listen to the good information that's being given to them. And we can apply the same thing to ourselves.
Yeah, I have a client right now that's like that. They wanted to list it $100,000 over where I told them to list it. The market spoke to us very loud, very clear. We had to drop it 100, and now he's having a hard time admitting to the fact that I was right about the pricing in the first point. And I said, look, man, we got to take this price, otherwise we're going to get lower than this. and he's in a financial hard, position, and he's having to take that and eat crow on it, and it's very hard to see the honesty and the truth that I was trying to speak to him, and it's very difficult to watch people do that. But once they do, then their life will change. And the same with yourself. I mean, if you have something that's blocking you, stopping you, or hindering you, sit down and I do this all the time. I have an honest discussion just with myself. Like if there's a therapist in the room, it's my alter ego, Matt. I just sit there and talk to myself.
That's very Napoleon Hill of you,
Greg. Leave your earbuds on so people don't worry about it.
But the funny thing is, I'll just walk around with my phone, and I'll just have them, not connected. Just
stick it in your pocket.
There's something wrong with that man right there. Do not engage with him.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my God, that is true though, and I love that question, Darryl, because it's similar to a question that I learned to ask from one of my mentors, which is like if leads fell from the sky, like if there was nothing holding back the business from growing, especially in a lead generation standpoint, what would that look like? What would happen to my business, right? And it forces you to think about, well, why aren't leads falling from the sky? Like, why aren't people reaching out to me? Why aren't they picking up the phone every day and going, hey, I need what you do? And if they did, what would happen? Because a lot of times you realize, oh crap, I can only really handle one more client. And the problem with lead generation is it's very hard to just get one more client. You either build a system where you get a bunch of them, or you have a trickle or it's virtually none. There's not a lot of like middle ground in there, and everybody seems to want that middle ground where they just get just that little bit that they feel like they can handle.
Well, and talking about that, we have these addictions that we go through. They're business addictions. Like if you're really sick, you might love to cold call. But most of us like to show houses or whatever it is. So, okay, yeah, that was good. But,
no, Greg does have an illness.
This is where teams. This is where we have so much difficulty developing teams, because we think we want to do everything, and yet we're not honest with ourselves about what we're really good at. And being able to give up part of that total commission and say, look, I can be exceptional and make more money if I'm making 30% of every deal, rather than trying to kill it and get it all on one. So just a little side note, I spend so much time working with new agents who are like, how did you develop a team and all this stuff? And it goes back to that honesty of what am I good at, and be okay with somebody else being a star too.
Mm-hmm. Delegate it out. I mean, if you want, if let's say I have the sickness of cold calling, maybe I like doing my calls, right? And I don't want Matt to take my crown for being the cold call king. Well, then Matt, go do social media. Be the king there. Be the king or queen of networking. I think that's really powerful, Darryl, is the fact that, a lot of people, they can't have other people supersede them or outshine them. But the ironic part is, as soon as you allow that other person to do the thing that they're the best at,
you shine brighter yourself.
Exactly.
Well, let's look at this. Let's look at this from a big corporate world of what is changing in real estate, the business models that we're seeing. We're seeing real estate agents who become good at developing leads syndicate that and do it all across the country, and then sell the leads back to us. Or what is Zillow doing? So this is happening, and it's happening right before our eyes. And some of us are adjusting, and some of us aren't. So it's back to the honesty of, again, what is really happening, face it, and be willing to try and develop. And you may become the next national expert on one particular aspect of real estate with a team that runs nationally, that you're referring people out to others who just have the local knowledge. So anyway, that's a pretty in-depth discussion, but.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. To say we can go super deep on teams, but we'll keep that for another episode. But getting back to kind of the lead generation side for you personally, so you really enjoyed the open house part. You did a lot of it sounds like you did a lot of none.
No, then I hate them now.
I hate them now. Wait a minute. What happened? What happened to the open houses?
I stopped having to work so hard. What I did, I invest a lot in technology. So we use the Matterport camera, and I brand mine EXP 3D, and open houses all the time. And unless you're willing to follow up with the people who come to the open house, they're really pointless for selling the house. And I don't need more leads. If I do, I'll go out and do an open house. But I don't like selling to people who don't know who I am and appreciate what I bring to the table. And there are plenty of buyers out there who don't. They just want somebody to open a door for them, and okay, fine, go get another agent, and I'm happy to let them get the commission.
Yeah, so you used open houses back in the day to kind of build up your base, your sphere, and then from there, so once that kind of you were over that hump where you felt like you had that together, what was your method for keeping in front of them?
Well, it was mailers for years. Today, I've been on TV and radio so long. My radio show is still running, and I have about 10,000 listeners who cycle through that hour who are within a geographic area. So we're talking about a lot of people who, whether they personally know you or not, they get to know you over a period of time. So that has been long term. I've kind of shifted more towards that, and I go someplace, people know who I am. It's easy to say, hey, I'm Darryl Baskin, be relatively low key about that, and they want to talk about real estate. They feel like there's a celebrity aspect to it, and so that's really good for business. And I still do some geographic farming. And
oh, do you really? Awesome.
Shit, now I freaking know where I know you, or I remember it. At the CyberStars, Darryl, you did a breakout on TV, didn't you?
I would have, yes.
Okay, I remember sitting there talking with you. I'm like, how's this work? And you broke it down for me like, fuck, that guy's awesome. Did I do any of it? Nope. But, I mean, I remember looking at, like, what you were putting together. I was like, okay, if this guy can do it, I can definitely do it. Dude, the Grandmaster just checked out. Hey,
holy cow.
How was your event last night?
Hey, Terry.
Hey, Dad, Darryl from CyberStars is with us.
What are you doing, dude?
I'm sitting in my car waiting for an inspection to wrap up.
We're just doing a podcast. Do you want to sit down?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You're live, by the
way. Hey, you're worse than my kids, Terry.
Oh, man.
Darryl says that you're worse than his 8 kids barging in. Like, hey, how are you?
Dad, can I have some pudding?
Yeah, you're like, yes, son, go away.
That's funny.
Oh
my gosh! All right, so tell me, Darryl, how did the TV thing work itself out? Was that a cable started off cable access, right?
It was cable access. It ran for, I don't know, I lost track. It ran for about 20 years, and it was. I really just quit because YouTube and video and all that stuff. I didn't like the restriction. I actually purchased an entire mobile broadcasting unit, so it'll do an HD television program with B-roll and graphics and everything, and I use that now with something called OKLiveEvents.com, and so I'll go around and I'll sponsor a nonprofit's event, and I'll pay for the video production on that. I just kind of enjoy it. It's fun. I'll run some of my own ads in there, and I do some of my own programming that's somewhat comparable to this. I tend to focus on stuff that's very local and organizations that don't have the capability, the financial resources to do like a business would. So, and that's my form of advertising. When we talk about systems with substance and having a purpose, when you take your business and you apply, what can I do that's good for the community? What can I do that's building my business, but also has an ancillary benefit to someone else? I think that's a real purpose that makes your business worthwhile, and many of us miss out on because we're pursuing another sale, and yet when we do something for somebody else, you get 2 sales in return, and you don't even have to ask. Mm-hmm. So I think that's huge, and
this is why I'm excited. Like Greg and I have known each other 3 years.
3-ish plus years at least.
I mean, you've always been a cold calling beast, which is great. I mean, it's given you an incredible skill set. But I am excited to see you kind of go through this transition, and I love that you're like enjoying the events and stuff like that. Because
like a caterpillar to a beautiful butterfly.
Well, I'm not saying.
My wings and fly.
I'm just saying it's cool to watch you go from more of a very, very sales driven mindset to more of a marketing or consulting mindset, because to me, like that I see that, and I get to talk to people all the time that have built like ultra successful large teams, and that's what you find. I mean, that's part of why they end up wanting to go into coaching, or they do this, or they end up going and starting a charity like Nick Shivers, who I interviewed a couple weeks ago. because for whatever reason, like just the act of like, if you have a sales mentality and it's just one transaction and then it's psychologically done, you're on to the next, and that's where you get the high out of it. You don't get that sense of significance. You don't feel like you're really impacting people's lives. And that's where you end up having to find your significance somewhere else. So it's awesome when you can build it into the business to where you get the significance from the business, right? That feeling of leaving a positive impact on their lives. And Darryl, sounds like that's kind of what you've essentially baked that ingredient right into the way that you do business.
It's a legacy mindset, and I think if we all step back and look at what happens, and by the way, part of my story was my dad died when I was 18. And so I came to this, I watched him get sick, and I came to this realization and understanding at an early age that, okay, this doesn't last forever. And so what he left and what he left for me and the things that I could carry on for another generation were things that kind of helped me bake that in. And so he died when he was 41. When I'm 47 now, so 6 years ago, I'm approaching this date, not thinking I'm going to drop dead. That right. Wasn't, when I tell this story, like, no, I wasn't thinking that. But I thought, here I'm approaching this time at which my dad's life ended and there was no more. And so I started reevaluating at a very early age in my late 30s that, hey, what would happen? What would happen if I were gone? What would people say about me? How would they think about me? And what would I leave behind that someone else could do something with? And it just reformed what was already good, and there were, I didn't look back and have all these regrets for being successful. It just changed the way I viewed it and what I was going to do with it.
Yeah, I think I thought about a lot of this, like over the winter. I worked with one of my mentors about it. It's not slight in the sense that it's a minor change, but it is just it's not that you throw out one of your core values. It's that you almost rearrange and you flip the priority from maybe number one to number two. You still want to build a good, successful, strong, healthy business and all that stuff, but it shifts from being the only thing to being the second or the third thing. And that, it's going to have a practical effect. It's a component. Yeah, exactly. Like it's a component in the life that you want to build, not just the business that you want to build.
Mm-hmm. Well, and my dad was a preacher growing up. So if I hung out with him, it was, if I really went to work with him, we might go to hospital visits and, people were dying all the time. And I make it sound awful, but it's a part of life. And so it just kind of formed the way I think and what I do. And I certainly want to live life to its fullest at the same time. So
yeah, agreed. It's funny. My dad was a pastor growing up. We never went to the hospital to visit anybody once. That was not a part of my childhood. My dad was not into that part of pastoring. I know Greg's shaking his head. Hey, my dad was an agoraphobe. What can I say? I get it from somewhere, Greg.
Just go to the weddings.
Yeah, pretty well. He wasn't so much into that either. But anyway,
what was he into?
Church. We had church 4 times a week. Everybody that you needed to see was at church.
4
ice cream socials and potlucks.
Yeah. Well.
Oh my God, your dedication, my
4
friend.
4 times a week, baby. Yeah.
We should set the podcast up to 4 times a week then.
No, that doesn't sound very holy. I don't think God wants that.
Moving forward,
are you gonna do a Christmas cantata podcast?
Oh God, no. Oh,
that doesn't sound good.
Oh no.
We could sing.
Oh, anyway, I can go. No. All right, Darryl. So fill us in. So now that you've got kind of this, catch us up to where you're at now and what your kind of daily and weekly schedule looks like in terms of keeping the lead generation going, keeping your sphere and your past clients kind of engaged and stuff like that. And then I know you're like out there and you'll meet people randomly that know you from TV and radio, and we can talk about how you convert those. But just give us a sense of like what's on the other side of this. So if somebody puts in the work that you've put in and they've built themselves a nice reputation in the community, what then does your daily life look like?
Well, for me, it all boils down to systems. And maintaining, just in life in general, you acquire all this stuff, and then we realize that we have to maintain it, and then you hit a midlife crisis, and you get it. But we don't have to get in all that.
I've only had 3 of those so far, so I have no idea what you mean.
Business is the same way, and so you acquire this business, and this is what makes us go through cycles. You sell a bunch, and then you have nothing. Because you were busy selling and closing these deals and you weren't lead generating. So developing systems and things that you're just managing the system. It's so much work to build the system. Like, how are you responding to people? What are your drip campaigns? What video systems do you use? What's your CRM? All of these things are part of your systems. But it can be boiled down to the manual letters. Do you have a printed copy of the letter that you send to someone? Even though you might store it in the cloud, what happens if you change the platform that you're using to deliver, the delivery mechanism of that? So monitoring your systems on a very fundamental basis, so that all you have to do is manage the system. Hey, there's a better deal out here, or there's a new invention. Now I'm going to take the same thing that I've done. Most of what I do hasn't changed in 30 years. I'm just putting it into a new system, a new platform, or a new delivery mechanism. And as your business grows and your family grows, and the things that are taking life events that are taking away from your time, that we talk to young people and we say, oh, now's the time. You're 20 years old, you're 23, you're not married, you don't have kids, whatever. Now's the time to buy a house and fix it up and flip it, because you can live with one bathroom. You can't do that after you get married and you have all the kids. So the same thing happens in real estate or in business. When you first start, that is the time to make your long-term plans. And too often we think, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna keep doing this manually over and over again. But if you're going to do it once, you're going to do it 1,000 times. So think long-term from the very first day you get your license, and start building that system. And it's a matter of a simple notebook to start with. It's a matter of being ready to pass that on to a virtual assistant, a set of instructions. And I use something called Text Expander. I don't know if you all have ever used it, but it is the most amazing. I was at a Cyber Pros conference, and I remember standing up when one of my friends said, "Oh, I'm trying this little thing called Text Expander." I stood up and said, "You have changed my life." So now I have these snippets, and I don't even type my name anymore. I type XDB, and it pops out Darryl Baskin. And when an offer comes in, I have a little snippet, and the snippet is X offer, and the X just means that the next series of characters are defining what that snippet is. And so an entire letter pops up in my email that's the same things that I've said over and over and over again. If it's a good offer, accept it, it's sold. If it's a really horrible offer, let's just consider what we can do with it. If it's something that can be worked, these are my negotiating strategies. And so being able to save that, not just the time in typing it out or cutting and pasting it, but having to repeat all of that information over and over again, is where we really get efficient. And we're not paid, we all know this, we're not paid on the hours that we spend, we're paid on the productivity and getting our clients to closing. So what is the easiest way for us to do that, the quickest way for us to serve our clients and get them to the closing table? So
Love it.
That increases your hourly pay.
Yeah. I'm actually, I see it right here. I'm looking at it right now.
I'm going to be downloading it later today.
I'm telling you guys, it is so amazing. You can put links in there. You send it out, and here's another way I started using it. I got into foreclosures or distressed properties where you put something on the market for $80,000 and people go nuts. You get 100 inquiries. How do you reply to all of those? So I would get it all set up with, here are the links, here's the public folder where you download the disclosure, whatever it is. And so the snippet for me was X 8307, and one right after another. It had a picture of the property, the 3D tour, the public information, the disclosures, and here's what you do to show it. And it changed my life. Truly did.
Wow. That's incredible. That's a great tech tip right there.
Yeah, it is. Forget Gene. Gene's out of a job.
I was going to say, where's Volpe on that one? Dropping the ball.
Gene's been replaced. We're going to bring Darryl back. All right. That was awesome. But it's and I give Greg a hard time because I'm very systems based, and I've yelled at him about this for years. So I know he's just cringing because I'm geeking out. But it is really true. I love what you say though about just thinking about the business long term from the first day. Like, hey, everything that I'm doing right now, I'm going to have to do 1,000 times over the course of my career. And why not make it easier, and why not build the foundation right? If people just, it's one of those meta things, right? If they get that mentality, even if they just learn to ask themselves the question, once a week, like, hey, what am I doing right now that I'm doing more than once that could be turned into a system? Even if they just ask themselves once a week that question, they'd be way ahead. And Hank talks about this, to not, like, how to not get overwhelmed by systems, which is just work on one a month, right?
Yeah.
And you were talking about
a long time.
They do, yeah, exactly. I mean, by your third year in business, Darryl, if you would have done that, you would have had 36 systems in your business. Yeah, like you'd be anyone that does that and does it consistently would be unstoppable.
Well, I like to point out to people who are overwhelmed by this. I mean, here we're talking, we've got robust businesses going, we've been doing it for a long time and whatever. But to a brand new agent, it is so overwhelming. A system, I need to know how to fill out a contract. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Your system for filling out a contract, it can be a system can be so simple. It can be setting up in our state zip forms, just setting up a template in zip forms. If you're gonna sell a single family home one time, hopefully you're gonna sell it 1,000 times. So what's your system for that? And it may be a system, may be a 2-sentence reply on a text message. So it doesn't have to be all this fancy stuff. It doesn't have to be video things, drip campaigns. Start small.
Yeah, agreed. Love it.
I have a friend of mine that she's working through getting writing the contracts. She's just starting to write contracts, and she's went through her first, counter and everything else. So she's learning how to do it. I keep telling her, just do a template. Just do a template. You can pull it up, change what you need to change, and you're off on a run and save yourself a ton of time. But yeah, it's that simple, Darryl. But people don't look at it like that. They look at it as I've got to do the hard work. I mean, you do have to do the hard work. Don't get me wrong, but you don't have to rewrite this. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every damn time.
Well, I used to use it when I would have a difficult client, and I would agonize over this for a period of weeks or hours to write a letter. You do that one letter and it's good, or you perfect it, keep it. That's your go-to. That's your resource.
And if you guys just do this, you will gain life back that you've never had before. Trust me, your wife, husband, significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, cat, dog, goldfish, hamster, pet gerbil. Whatever you guys like.
That's right. Your gerbils will thank you. All right. Well, I know you, Darryl, you got to take off. You're at an inspection, so
I've got to go do the walkthrough.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Let people know how they can, if they want to connect with you and learn more about you, or even just to send referrals to your area. Let them know where you're at and how to connect with you. All
right. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Green Country, and I'm with eXp Realty. You can find me on Facebook at Darryl Baskin, DarrylBaskin, and DarrylBaskin.com. Obviously, you can call, but Google Baskin Real Estate. Hopefully I take up the first page.
I think so, yeah. Awesome, man. Well, we really, really appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much for joining us from the car, and it was awesome to have you. We really, really appreciate it.
Good to be here.
Yeah, right, thanks, Darryl. Oh, man.
Right, guys.
Talk about a rock star guest, man. That guy just crushes it left, right, upside down, and backwards, and just an awesome dude from the inside out. I mean, just heart of gold, and he just makes business look simple because he takes the hard things, systematizes them. I can't believe I just said that. And then, he goes and just makes it happen over and over and over and over again. So, I mean.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is that the way that I look at systems, and I obviously don't claim any great knowledge on this. This came from just watching it go down this way and from talking a lot with Frank from Viral Marketing. Is just that extra time that you spend, whether it's 10 or 20%, like if a task takes you 20 minutes, it might take you an extra 2 or 3 minutes to build, quote, the system for it, or even just to save the email somewhere. But yeah, if you remember to put that into a system that you can use, it'll save you half the time the next time. It'll save you, 90% of the time for most of the other times after that. And so it's just one of those things where it actually makes it's about making life easier for you. It's like, Adam Carolla yells all the time about how, something as simple as just putting your keys in the same place every time. For the initial 5 times that you do it, does it take a little bit of mental effort to remember to put your keys in the right place? Absolutely. We all know that. We all admit it.
No.
Maybe not for a guy. I
put my wallet and my keys in this little black box as soon as I walk in, have my extra pair of headphones in there, have my pool key in there, everything's right there, because I hate fucking walking around and not going, where the fuck are my goddamn keys? Then I find them in the freezer. I don't know what's going on.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, stop throwing your keys in there when you grab an ice cream cone. But it may have taken you when you set if you're not naturally like that, and I'm like that too, by the way, Greg. So I don't struggle with that part of it, but I have other things that I do struggle with. But if you're the type of person that struggles to implement that new habit because it just doesn't come naturally to you, yes, it will take you a little bit longer those first handful of times. It might take you longer for the first 21 days. It's setting a new habit. But once you get that done, then you potentially make your career for the next 30 years easier. And like Darryl said, like his life now is just managing the systems, right? Because they're already in place because he built them 5 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And that can be the future for you, is just the business just runs and you enjoy life and you have time to go do what you want to do, whether that's having, 8 kids and doing ministry, or if you want to travel.
Yeah, I'll take option B, please.
Yeah. I'll take a little from column A and a little from column B.
All right. All right, guys, we are out of here. Follow us on Facebook, guys. As always, go to iTunes, leave us a review. Stitcher, leave us a review. If they even do that there, I'm not sure if they do that there, but iTunes, they do. Go over to YouTube, write us a comment if you guys want to, or as always, do it on Facebook. But tell all your friends and family about us. Stalk us with the best intentions in your heart, and help us to be known by your fellow agents. We love and appreciate you guys. That's the reason why we come and do this 3 times a week. And we just want to bring the knowledge for you. But we got some amazingly exciting news. We got some stuff that we're working on, guys. And I was telling Matt some of the numbers this morning, and his eyes bugged out. But when we can tell you guys more about this, you're gonna shit your pants. You're gonna need diapers, because it's gonna be like little rabbit droppings all over the place, because this is such good news. Matt's dying. But go ahead, and he's still down.
I don't even know what to say. Oh my God. Oh man, little rabbit droppings. All right.
But until next time, guys, follow us on Facebook. But until then, peace out, ninjas. We